Over the last few weeks, we've seen some drastic increases in price of special illustration rare Pokemon cards. With the constant hype of 151 and the increasingly difficult pull rates of these cards, it's not too much of a surprise that prices may go up to the level we see with the Sword and Shield alternate arts. So today, let's take a look at some of the highest valued special illustration rares and discuss some that I personally think may be undervalued. What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about special illustration rares. Now special illustration rares have been seeing increased value over the past couple of weeks, and I think a lot of that goes back to the Greninja being such a difficult card to pull. It was valuable right from the get-go, but we've also seen the increase of a few other cards. The Charizard is a great example. A lot of these, 151 original Kantos. We got the Charizard, Blastoise, Venusaur, and the Bubble Mew has been kind of the biggest winner as of late. This card was sub $100 as of October 12th, and now just 15 days later, it's at its all-time high of $160. This card seems to be steadily climbing, and it's just very surprising to me. It has become the most valuable card in Paldean Fates, beating the Charizard, which surprisingly hasn't seen any growth. It's actually down from its all-time high. There may be other reasons for this Mew's increase in value, but to me, it's just because it's a 151. As Pokemon 151 has gone out of stock and become so much more desirable over October, I think we'll be seeing a lot more fan favorite Pokemon taking off. So before we get into the special illustration rares that I think are undervalued, let's quickly run through the top 5. You got Greninja, no one's surprised here. $317. It actually still looks like it's going up, surprisingly. I say surprisingly, but Twilight Masquerade is getting more expensive, more difficult to find, and with the pull rates of this card, it's so tough to get from pulling it out of a pack. It's gonna maintain value unless there's a massive dump of product on the market, or if they alter pull rates in a second print wave or something. I doubt they would change pull rates, but until more of these cards get out there on the market, it's gonna maintain value. And as mentioned, the Charizard from 151, sitting up there at number 2, $192 right now. It did break $200 a couple weeks ago, but it's corrected since this new product announcement, all the new reprint rumors news with 151. Paldean Fates Mew, it might actually surpass Charizard. I feel like this one's going to drop though. I don't know the sole reason for this card going up in value. My suspicion, like I said, it's a 151 original, it's Mew, it's a shiny SIR. It's a really cool card, and I think it's going to be a memorable card in years to come. But $160 for a card that's only been out for 10 months, maybe even less. A little ridiculous. It's bound to correct itself, at least to some extent. And now the Charizard from Paldean Fates. Not a big fan of this one personally, but it's still over $100. But it's also dropped a lot on release. It was sitting at about $180. It was by far the most expensive card in the set. But over the last 6 months, I'd say, it's been hovering between $100 and $120. Right now, $109. Might see some increases if Paldean Fates is going to get all sorts of hype all of a sudden, but I wouldn't really expect this one to do much more than what we're seeing from the Shining Fates Charizard VMAX. And number 5, Terapagos from Stellar Crown. This card has been on a steady decrease. From my understanding, this card is pretty playable, but it also looks like it's going to be dipping in value. I don't think there's a lot of Terapagos fans. I'm sure there are Terapagos fans. I'm not bashing anyone that likes this Pokemon, but it hasn't been around that long. There's no nostalgia factor that all these other cards on the list have. I'm sure it's somebody's favorite. Every Pokemon is somebody's favorite, but Terapagos does nothing for me. And I don't really see this card sitting around $100 long term. All right, now 5 special illustration rares that I think are undervalued. I talked about this with illustration rares a few months back around June. I've been keeping my eye on some of these special illustration rares, and a few of them have just been consistently dropping in value. One that I think will go up and go up soon is the Roaring Moon from Paradox Rift. This card was huge on release. A year ago, it was going for $115. Right now, less than half of that. It's dropped 57%. Over the last year. $48.75, that's ridiculous. I think this card is well worth that price. It's a card I've been waiting to pick up, and I'm glad I did. I'll definitely be picking it up over the next couple weeks. I feel like as soon as Paradox Rift gets harder to come by, or if it hits a situation like we had with Paldea Evolved, where everyone was oh my god, this set is awesome, why is everyone sleeping on it? It went up $50 a box. That might happen with Paradox Rift. I think it seems like consensus with collectors is Paradox Rift is a good set. It's seen no movement. The sealed product has been steady for a year. I've been picking this up. I know a few of you in the comments have been as well. I've chatted with a couple of you about it. It seems like a good pickup. It's a good price. There's some good hits in it. Yeah, it's really heavily focused on Paradox Pokemon, the ancient and future situation there. But this card and the next one on the list, I think they're great. It's got a lot of Pokemon in it. It kind of captures what the ancient trait is all about. And I think it's just a matter of time before this graph starts going up. It's been like slowly dipping over the last 6 months. I think if you give it another 6 months, it's going to start turning around and increasing. And then, as I just mentioned, kind of the counterpart to this card is the Iron Valiant, same set, Paradox Rift. This card's great. It's like a form of Gardevoir. A lot of people like Gardevoir. It's kind of like they mixed Gardevoir and Gallade and turned it into a robot. You know, some people might like the future Pokemon, some people might dislike it. I think the ancient ones are way cooler, but this card does a good job. Same reasons I mentioned with Roaring Moon. It shows a bunch of different future Pokemon in one card. I think it really captures the idea well. I love the scenery, the sunset going through the valley here, super cool. And same situation. It's down 66% over the last year. It hit a high of $71 and is now sitting below 20 bucks. Like, that's incredible. $19.40. This is one, I don't think this will ever be a $100 card by any means, but this is one I think will go up in value. 20 bucks for a special illustration rare. One of the best cards in Paradox Rift, and a card that like really speaks to the Scarlet and Violet generation. Paradox Pokemon are a huge thing, like whether it's the video game or the cards. And I think if you give it a few years, the Paradox Pokemon are really going to hit some people with the nostalgia factor. So 20 bucks for this one, I think it's well worth it. Next up, I want to go back a little bit further to the beginning of Scarlet and Violet with the Koraidon from SV Base. This card's cheap. 10 bucks, under 10 bucks for, you know, the box legendary of Pokemon Scarlet. This card's never really seen like big value. It's been going for upwards of $15 over the last year, but it's also gone down to like 8 bucks. I found this one super cheap at a local card shop. I think I paid like $5 Canadian for it. So there's deals. I feel like this one has been looked over. It's nice artwork. And like I said, box legendary, I feel like eventually people are going to warm up to Koraidon and Miraidon. But yo, Koraidon I think is a really good one. I don't think it's going to be a $100 card again, but I think 20, 30 bucks is an easy shout, especially once Scarlet and Violet goes out of stock. You know, people aren't a big fan of the base set. There's not a lot of value there. And again, this isn't the most expensive card in the set. I don't even know if it's in the top 5. There aren't a lot of high value cards in that set at all, but I think Koraidon is a bit undervalued. Now I'm going to stay on the same topic of Scarlet and Violet base with Miraidon. I wasn't really going to touch on this card, but looking at the price it's at right now, I feel like it may be undervalued. This card was like a fan favorite. I think it was going for like, what, $80 on release, something crazy. A lot more expensive than it is right now. You can pick up this card for under 15 bucks, which is like on par with the cheapest it's been all year. It's been up to 25, which is, you know, quite a bit higher than what it is right now. I think as this card has kind of gone in and out of the competitive spotlight, its value has kind of fluctuated. I know it's still a card that is competitively viable, but there are a lot of different Miraidons. You don't really need this one if you're playing. But man, for 15 bucks, I think it's well worth it. It's a lot more popular than Koraidon. Personally, I think I like Koraidon more. They're both cool in different ways, right? But Miraidon has more potential in my eyes. I think a lot more people went with Violet versus Scarlet. And I think people are going to be interested in this card long term. You know, if you wait 5-10 years, I know that's a long time to hold a $15 card hoping it goes up. But man, if you're collecting Pokemon cards just hoping for a return down the line, but you value your collection personally, if it's not just a number game to you, I think this is a good one. And when you're talking about the number game, I don't know if singles is really the best bet. I'm sure some of you have found huge success in it. But you have to be like really alert with investing in singles. You have to know when to buy, when to sell, what cards are going to be hot, what cards won't be. You kind of need to turn and burn at the right times to really make the most out of it. Personally, I don't have the time for that. I like investing in sealed product. It's a no-brainer. You buy it, it goes up. It's all about patience there. So Miraidon, if you like this card, I think it's a great pickup at this price. I think it's worth it, and I could see this one going up at least double in the next couple years, as soon as Scarlet and Violet base kind of sells out and starts picking up in value. Okay, I want to jump forward a little bit to another cheaper special illustration rare. This one might not be one a lot of people are interested in, but personally, I think it's cool and I think it's worth the value. You're looking at the Penny SIR from Paldean Fates. Now, I don't think Penny is necessarily popular with a lot of fans, but the artwork on this card goes hard. It's got the Pokeball right in the center. It's got Umbreon in the foreground looking up at Penny. I think it's a great card, and if Penny ever gains popularity, I could see it going up more. This card has just steadily decreased in value over the year. It's down 62%. Sitting at $8.69 right now. I've talked about this one before. I think it's like well worth the value. It's one I'm looking to pick up. My dog's name is Penelope. She goes by Penny. Peeper. I've been kind of collecting Penny, Fido, and Dashmon just because Penny and then Beagles. So for me, this is a card I need in my collection. It's one I haven't picked up because I knew it wouldn't be that popular, but looking at the price, now is maybe the time to pick it up. So like I said, might not be popular to many people, but it's a popular card to me. I think the price is great, and Umbreon I feel like is the forefront of this. Like, Umbreon cards have been getting increasingly more valuable following Moonbreon, and I think that's going to be a continued pattern in the future. Now, I know this isn't an Umbreon card, but having Umbreon in the artwork, I think is enough to make this card at least worth 15 bucks. You know, Paldean Fates has only been out, like I said, 10 months. If you give it a little more time, I think this card's going to go up. And now for the final card, another one from Paldean Fates, the Gardevoir, special illustration rare. This one is $42. It's down 36%. A lot of people like Gardevoir. A lot of people like this artwork. Why is it under 50 bucks? I think it's just because Paldean Fates is easily accessible. It's not that expensive, and there are better sets out there. But looking at what's happened with the Mew, and even the Charizard just being worth what it's at, I feel like Gardevoir is bound to follow suit, at least to some extent. And honestly, I feel like this one has the best chance out of all of these of increasing sooner than later. If we see how this Mew affects any other special illustration rares from Paldean Fates, Gardevoir is going to follow. It's one I'm looking to pick up sooner than later. Right now, 42 bucks, I think it's well worth it. But honestly, I think this card will return to like $80 one day. Will it hit 100 bucks? I don't know. It's definitely the weaker of the three, but personally, my favorite. All right, guys, well, that's going to be it for today's video. Some special illustration rares that have been getting a lot of love, and some that have kind of been overlooked. I definitely think if we wait a little bit longer, special illustration rares are going to see way more popularity. A lot of them are pretty difficult to pull, and as they get trickier to come by, I could see collectors looking at them like alternate arts, kind of the grails of the Scarlet and Violet generation. I know that's what we're seeing with Greninja, Charizard, or Sunzard, as a lot of people have been calling it. I don't know if that's going to catch on. And the Bubble Mew. Like, Bubble Mew's a beaut. I think we all knew it from the start, but I didn't think we would see these gains so soon. So yeah, let me know in the comments below, what is your favorite card on this list? And do you think there are any different special illustration rares that I didn't cover that are undervalued? I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.